Hey! Greetings and salutations, everybody, on this fine Sunday, March 23rd. That's what it is. Still cold here in Minnesota. If you're somewhere warm, stay there for a while. 16 degrees the other night, a little too chilly. We're bringing you truck talk today. As mentioned in the thumbnail, is Ram truck really the best tow vehicle money can buy? Well, that's debatable because you're going to have your fan club, whether it's Chevy, Ford, Ram. Now, I'm in this 2024 Ram dually, and a lot of you have been asking me to do a review on what I think or feel about this particular truck since I've had Chevy Duramax diesel trucks since 2002. I've had every year model change that they've had, all the way up to nowadays L5P motor. Now, I'm going to show you and start off with the very first thing that I do not like about Ram trucks, and that is the frickin' behemoth size of their fifth wheel hitch. Now, for comparison, as I mentioned, I've been a Chevy guy for a very, very long time. Now, here is the base plate for the Ram puck system or in-bed system. Here's the base plate for the Chevy puck GM or OEM. Now look at the size difference of these, you guys. That Ram hitch compared to that Chevy hitch. Now mind you, these are both the exact same weight capacity. Those are 20,000 pound hitches. These are the B&W Companion, and as you can see, the head unit is removable. So I could take that one and put it on either the Chevy or the Ram, so those are all interchangeable. But I wanted you to see the difference in the size. Now that takes up a lot of space in the bed. And the Ram system is so freaking heavy, it is all I can do. I'm not a tiny guy, I work construction. It's all I can do to lift that thing in and out of the bed of that truck. Now we're going to be comparing dualies today, okay? Dual rear wheel. Now I'm a big proponent of pulling with a dually because they're just more planted and stable when you're towing down the road. Now let's say you're going through Kansas and you're going through the Flint Hills. If you guys ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. It gets crazy, crazy windy. So when you're towing a camper, you don't get pushed around in a dually. But what we're going to do, we're going to compare the numbers between Ram, Ford, and Chevy on their dually trucks. Now, if you're truck shopping, you're going to need to be aware of your numbers. Now, on every truck, on the driver's side door jamb, they post a sticker, okay? Now, these are the stickers that you want to really pay attention to because these are going to tell you how much you can tow with your vehicle, whether it's a fifth wheel or gooseneck or bumper. These are the numbers that you need to pay attention to. Now you take a look at this particular truck. You see right here on the top line where it says the combined weight of occupants and cargo should never exceed a certain amount of poundage. Now you see this number right here, 5,546 pounds. Now that is my actual payload capacity. Between me, passengers, everything that goes into this truck, that's how much, including whatever pin weight I put on top of the fifth wheel hitch. So I need to include that fuel tank. When I have 50 gallons of fuel in there, I need to calculate how many passengers and their weight that I have in the truck. If I'm carrying one or two of the dogs, if I have any supplies or anything like that inside, you have to add all that stuff up and figure out if you're going to be within your payload capacity. Very, very important. Now I want to make quick mention that I cannot believe the amount of people that I see on all the forums, all the RV forums, when people are looking and shopping and they ask a question, hey, we've got a 2024 Chevy Duramax 3/4 ton. Is it safe to tow a Paradigm 395. And then you'll see all these people pipe in and say, oh, yeah, we're doing it. And then thus begins the tow police. It becomes this long, drawn-out battle of all these people piping in. Well, I got to tell you, the ignorance out there is astounding. I bet you when I go through any RV park, I can probably pick out 50% of the people that are there who are well over their payload capacity or their truck rating of how much weight they can safely put on it. That puts you at risk. That puts others at risk. That puts your truck at risk for failure. But even more so, if you get pulled over and you're in an accident and there's a smart enough officer that decides to check your weight ratings and they see that you're over your payload capacity, it gets pretty ugly quickly. So people, you've got to do your diligence and make sure that you know your towing numbers and that you're staying safe. Also, there's a lot of people that say, you can go 1,000 pounds over safely. You don't have to worry about that. The DOT and NHTSA and all those places, yeah, they underrate these trucks. Unbelievable. You have to be within your payload rating. There's a reason that they put those numbers on it. All right, guys, so let's dig into the numbers, shall we? Let's start off with Chevy GM products. Now, if you're looking at the Chevy Silverado with a Duramax diesel motor, now we're only going to talk about diesels, okay? If you're looking at a Chevy dually, I'm going to read you off the 2024 numbers, okay? So these aren't the 2025 models. Now, I want you to keep in mind that the numbers are going to fluctuate depending on the trim package that you have. So let's say you're looking at the Chevy WT or the work truck or the LT, which is kind of their base model. Your ratings are going to be a little bit higher because they have less features on them, like sunroofs and heavier wheels and all that kind of stuff. So looking at the Chevy 3500 Duramax dually, they have a payload capacity with a maximum of 6628. That's 6,628 pounds when towing fifth wheel or gooseneck. All right. They have a horsepower rating of 470 horsepower. They have a pound-feet of torque of 975 and a max towing capacity. That means how much you can pull with the truck, not how much you can put on it, of 36,000 pounds. Now, those have the 10-speed Allison transmission. Now, let's take a look at the 2024 Ford F-350 Power Stroke Dually. Those have a max payload capacity in the diesel of 6,973 pounds when towing fifth wheel or gooseneck. They put out 500 horsepower, so that's a 30 horsepower jump over the Chevy Duramax. They have a pound-feet of torque rating of 1,200 pounds. That's monstrous torque. So the Ford Power Stroke definitely wins in the torque capacity and so far with the payload capacity and the towing capacity. They have a max tow of 38,000 pounds with the torque shift 10-speed transmission. So hands down, Ford definitely takes the blue ribbon when it comes to their diesel 1-ton Power Stroke. Now let's take a look at the truck that I have, the 2024 Ram 3500 Cummins Dually. Now you saw that mine has a payload capacity while towing fifth wheel or gooseneck of 5,500 whatever pounds. Mine has a horsepower. I do not have the high output motor. Mine has the horsepower rated at 420. That's 70 less horsepower, that's 80 less horsepower than the Ford Power Stroke. Mine has pound-feet of torque of 1,075, so not bad. That's still higher than the Chevy. Now, the towing capacity of my Ram Dually is 37,090 pounds. Now, that's not bad, not too bad. Now, the only drawback, and they changed this for 2025, is this one has the 6-speed 68 RFE transmission. Now, I do want to say that when I was towing, I noticed a significant difference over the Chevy that I had with the 10-speed transmission. It was very, very noticeable when mountain climbing and hill climbing, especially climbing my way out of that big mountain coming out of Bullhead City, Arizona on the way to Kingman. the truck was barely able to get over 54 miles an hour. I had my foot to the floor. I never had that problem in my Chevy. I could easily cruise 65 miles an hour up and down those mountains without a problem. Now you ask yourself, who's the winner? Well, it's not Ram. It's not Chevy. If you're going strictly by the numbers, it would be the Ford 1-ton Power Stroke that wins the blue ribbon with the highest horsepower, highest towing capacity, highest payload rating, and highest pound-feet of torque. Now, it all comes down to personal preference, you guys. One thing I can mention, when it came to that fifth wheel hitch, I did have a Ford F450 at one time, and that base plate for the hitch was about the same size as the Chevy. So that's another plus that could go to the Ford column. Now, I know a lot of you are diehard, brand loyal, and I get it. I've been that way before. I will tell you from my experience, I really miss my Chevy. I thought it was a more comfortable truck, a more comfortable ride. I liked the features a little better. Chevy uses a completely different suspension system. The Ram uses a coilover. Chevy does not. Very, very smooth transition on that 10-speed Allison transmission as well as the 10-speed torque shift transmission. Very nice trannies. Now again, Ram stepped up in 2025 and now they're putting the new 8-speed transmission in all of their diesel trucks. So I have not tried one of those out yet. I haven't talked to anybody that has one. But it kind of all comes down to personal preference. If you don't need those gigantic heavy numbers and you're not pulling a big, massive, heavy fifth wheel, then you don't really need to go that dually route. It comes down to personal preference, you guys. Is one better than the next? As they say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I myself, like I said, I prefer Chevy. I can't say I'm super happy with the Ram truck. It is a very rough ride. When I had Chevy dualies, they were a lot smoother than the Ram when you don't have a load on the back. But the jury's out yet. A lot of them still have issues and problems. It's going to be interesting to see what comes down with the new EPA regs that they're trying to pass, or should I say disintegrate and get rid of. If you've been following all that, that's very interesting what the current administration is trying to do by deregulating diesel emissions. So I'm watching that super closely. As I get information on that, I'll try to pass it along to you guys. But the way it looks right now, they're trying to do away with all the DEF systems and the diesel emissions and EGR and all that kind of stuff. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that maybe we can let our diesel trucks breathe and perform like they used to. So you guys stick around. We got a lot more coming up your way. Appreciate you being here. Again, if you're somewhere warm, stay there. As always, thanks for being here. See ya.